Coins,
right. But he really does do things in the world of coin collecting. The education is kind of the side benefit, I think, and this is a good place to talk about that, because Mike not only provides you things you can't find anywhere else, he sources things in a way, he does things in a way, the flex pay, the 30-day return policy. The Congratulations coin is something that I know you have a lot of fun with when we bring.
Yeah, well, here it's an interesting thing. So we just talked about kind of the rarity, collectability, desirability of the American Silver Eagle. So far they have released, there's basically a mint state coin, and then there's a proof American Silver Eagle. Well, this is the proof American Silver Eagle. The proof coin tends to be somewhere about 50 to 75 times rarer than the mint state coin. The United States government charges 300 to 400% more for the proof coin than they do the regular mint state coin. We don't. So they charge significantly more money. It is significantly rare. So the proof coin is always kind of the collector favorite. But they also release at various times, and since 2013, so they've only been doing this for about a half a dozen years or so, they release a special subset of American Proof Silver Eagles, the rarest part of that, in what's called the Congratulations set. And people say, well, why do they call it that? Well, because it says congratulations. So they basically take an American Silver Eagle and they put it in this little thing and they say, congratulations. And so they've done this, and what happens is they make very, very few of these. So there may be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these. In the Congratulations set, maybe 20 or 25,000 is all they charge more. So if you recall last year, they did the 2019 San Francisco enhanced uncirculated or enhanced reverse proof American Silver. They made 30,000. That coin, I think if we're not sold out, we're close to sold out at $4,300. This coin by provenance will be rarer than that coin because they're not going to do 30,000 congratulations. That's probably about 20 to 25,000. The 2016 is the rarest of those. Go on hsn.com. It's $799 for the 2016 because it's from the Congratulations set. This is from the Congratulations set. It's not $719. And by the way, the 2016 coin isn't the last year of issue either. So I mean, you know, so this adds in. And people say, so what's the big deal about last year of issue? In coin, there it is right there. Yeah, there just has to be, this coin you mean? Yeah, that's $799 coin that you see right there. By the way, look at that, 5 stars on the one review that it has. So I mean, you know, it is what it is. $7.99. And so people ask me, so in the world of coins, so does the last coin matter? I think so. So if you take, for instance, the $20 St. Gaudens. The first year of issue, very desirable coin, 1907. Get a 1907, high wire, high relief, in a beautiful hot top grade. You're talking about a $200,000 or $300,000 coin for a 1907. Last year of issue, 1933. If I had it out here right now, I would put on, and I'd sell it in 20 seconds for $30 million. So it's important. It's $30 million. The Liberty Nickel, first year of issue, 1883. I could sell you a nice, brilliant, uncirculated coin for $500. Last year of issue, 1913, be $5 million, maybe $10 million. Last year of issue. So sometimes it's the first year, some year it's the last year, but regardless, first years and last years are always, the bookends are always the coins to collect. The ones to get. So this right here is not only the bookend of the Proof Silver Eagle, but also of the Congratulations set that you're going to have with this right here. And now the other thing that the United States Mint, so they're upping their game. As it turns out, they also are upping their prices. So you remember, we have tens of thousands of people on our ships here. Every one of you out there, remember, your price can never go up, your delivery's guaranteed for as long as you stay in the program. Good on you. The United States Mint across the board is raising prices somewhere between 15 and 25% this year. Your price is guaranteed, your delivery is guaranteed, your price will never go up. So all of you that lock that in, good on you. We will honor those prices until the end of the program. That's simply the way that it is. And this coin, the United States government went up almost 20% on the price of the uncertified, ungraded coin. That is significant. My price went up about 8%. So we held that back as much as it could. The United States government, like I said, they are really pounding the prices out there. So they're deciding they're going to make fewer coins in essence. They're going to raise the price. Things are going to be more collectible. Now is the time. If you've never collected, now is the time to start.
Oh, for sure.
The United States, I mean, we're about to go into a renaissance of numismatic collecting, unlike anything that we have seen in coin collecting in decades and decades and decades. Now is the time, and this coin is what is going to launch that. The very last American silver eagle. Now you have the silver eagle, incredibly collectible. The proof silver eagle, even more collectible, 50 times more collectible. And then out of the Congratulations set that you see right there that comes out of this, establishing the provenance of that, is going to be another probably 20 times rarer than the regular proof American silver eagle. So that's going to make this coin out of the Congratulations set somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 times rarer than the mint state American silver eagle. Okay, to do that math, somewhere in the neighborhood on the order of 1,000, 10 orders of magnitude in essence, okay, is what we're looking at in terms of that. That's why this Congratulations eagle is such a huge deal.
But see, and I think, so the collectability of this goes beyond the regular coin collecting world, per se.
Oh, goodness, yes.
So you're already starting with a smaller availability, smaller mintage, right? The 25,000, give or take, which is smaller than what they've
And it could be
before.
10, it could be 12.
It could be 10, you don't know. The government has raised the price. You've absorbed it, basically for your customer.
Yay.
And you're getting the double digit, the 2020. And you're getting it on FlexPay?
Exactly. Now let's go back and let's do some bookkeeping, some housekeeping for the United States government. There is an order of production for the United States Mint. So let's say all of a sudden they start running out of blanks, which are the things that they make these coins out of, which like they did in 2009. By law, they have to produce the mint state coins to whatever order people want. And if they run out of blanks, they can produce no more proof coins. They can produce no more proof coins. So if demand on the mint state coin stays where it is today, we may end up in a year where they don't necessarily sell out of these, they just simply don't make any more. Because all the demand, all the production capacity of the United States Mint is all focused on the 2020 mint state coins, because by law, they must provide those coins. Remember back in 2009, they couldn't keep up, they never even made a proof coin in 2009. In 2009, they only made mint state American silver eagles. So now you have a coin that's the rarest of the rare under normal circumstances. Now add in the craziness of silver eagle sales. And so when I say these are more popular than prior years, because we have decades of data. So you're going, what are they up? Like 20% more, 30% more? How about like 300% more?
What?
Yeah, absolutely. 300. So we're seeing sales on the American silver eagles. I'm not talking about just here. I'm talking about industry-wide, tripling what they have in the past on the American silver eagle. And that is before everybody even realizes that this is the last year. They had a little symposium at the end of November. It's not like it's been on the morning shows out there. It will at some point. And then once all of a sudden it is coast to coast and everybody realizes, okay, first of all, I need silver, which is at a really good price right now. Secondly, I can get it in the last old style American silver eagle that they've done for the entire year, this year in the 2020, since they're changing it in 2021. And all of a sudden you have a thing where demand is already insane, go to, like I said, just ridiculous, scintillating numbers.
So is it fair to say that even coin distributors / collectors will grow exponentially, maybe even people who aren't dealing in that particular industry?
Just like state quarters.
Just like state quarters will get involved. It's highly unlikely that they would absorb some of those additional costs to the consumer. Right, absolutely. They're not going to do a 30-day return policy of FlexPay. And what do you
They might not even be there tomorrow.
Right.
That's the thing. How many times? I'd like to send this back. Crickets. Crickets.
Good for you.
And you're typing madly. Where are you? Crickets. Crickets. We've been here for, decades and decades and decades. I've been here for decades.
I know.
We're going to take care of you.
You can't miss with this. I mean, you really can't. 30-day return policy and flex pay. Well, we're just getting started. This is the warm-up act. Oh, wait till you see what he has coming up.